Hi, this is Jonathan Armstrong from Caudry, the specialist compliance law firm. I'm pleased to say that Eric Sinrod is with me as well from California. And Eric, we've talked quite a bit in the last few months about AI and some of the intersections between the law and AI. And that seems to be the topics that we're getting the most feedback on at the moment. And there have been some pretty consequential developments in the US, haven't they, with some sort of consortium approach to AI. What's all that about?
Yes, thank you. Eric Sinrod here at Duane Morris. Great to see you, Jonathan, and everybody out there in cyberspace. Should we be afraid, or as they say, very afraid, or the forces of good here to protect us? Well, let's discuss briefly. So 7 leading companies in artificial intelligence apparently have committed to managing the risks posed by this new tech, according to our White House. And this will include the testing of the security of AI and supposedly making those results or those test results public. So which companies are we talking about? Amazon, Anthropic, Google, Inflection, Meta, Microsoft, and OpenAI joined our President Biden to make this recent announcement. And of course, this comes on the heels of all sorts of dire warnings we're getting about how AI is going to lead us off a cliff and we're in imminent peril. And over here on this side of the pond, of course, we've had some recent political developments, as you've heard about, and some indictments. And we have a now brewing presidential campaign and an election coming in 2024. And there have been fears about how AI tools could spread disinformation leading up to this important election where we're sort of dealing with arguments about how enduring our democracy is going to be anyway. So getting back to the agreement, the companies agreed to several prongs, about 7 of them, if I count them correctly. No, actually fewer, but let me give them to you. Actually 4 main prongs. My math, I never was a mathematician. I was never hired in that capacity. So one of them is security testing of AI systems by internal and external experts before the release of new AI tools. That's 1. 2, ensuring that people are able to spot AI by implementing watermarks. 3rd, publicly reporting AI capabilities and limitations on a regular basis. And 4th, look, I counted 4 numbers in a row, all by myself, math, or at least numbers. 4th, researching the risks such as bias, discrimination, and invasion of privacy that could come along with AI. And apparently, according to the White House, the ultimate goal is to make it easy for people to tell when they're viewing online content, whether it's AI or not. And before I shift it back over to you, Jonathan, I just want to make sure I'm not remiss. I do want to thank Duane Morris, the people who helped me out with this video podcast, and otherwise Tom, Maggie, and Sean. Thank you, guys. Okay, Jonathan, so what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let's endorse the comments for Tom, Maggie, and Sean. They've been helping us with these podcasts and videos since we were both young children, it feels like. And they've done a sterling effort over the years to help get this out there. So we are both grateful to them. The whole AI piece, obviously, is like an octopus with more tentacles than an octopus normally has, isn't it? I was honored to be invited to join the first New York State Bar Association task force on AI. Obviously, in New York, there have been particular issues with lawyers, attorneys using AI to draft submissions, which referred to cases which were incorrect. And our task force meets for the first time next week to look at those and some other issues around AI and the law. But even a task force with the stellar group this has, excluding me, of course, isn't going to be able to deal with all of the issues that we've got. And I think there's a real interesting approach, isn't there, between those governments who are trying to be cooperative, and those governments who are trying to regulate. Even in Europe, we have that conflict, with the well-known EU AI Act on the 14th of June that passed the European Parliament stage, at least for now, with their list of comments on the Act. It's now going to the Council of Ministers for them to look. There's still a target for the end of the year. There's still lots of people chipping away at that legislation, but the EU approach is certainly to legislate rather than seek cooperation. But the UK approach is, I think, more similar to the US. We had a white paper in March that has 5 AI principles, not identical to your 4, not identical to the 6 in GDPR, but at least sort of cousins, if you like. And obviously things like transparency are key to that. I think sometimes when we talk about future regulation, though, on future cooperation, as I think I've said in these films before, we miss the fact that AI is already fairly heavily regulated, usually under GDPR, but I think we've also seen the FTC in the US, for example, say that they may use fair trading type rules to regulate some forms of AI. We've had ReplikaAI suspended in Italy, as we talked about before. We've had delays for Bard and for ChatGPT, and in both cases, the Garante in the case of ChatGPT and the Irish Data Protection Commission in the case of Bard were asking for that type of assessment that you've talked about from the White House, not insisting that it's external, not insisting that it's security per se, but insisting that there is a data protection impact assessment that looks about at the things you've talked about transparency, about the use of data in those AI applications, about the security of that data, et cetera, et cetera. And I think over here, the watermarking proposals particularly have garnered quite a bit of interest. I mean, we know, don't we, that there's been all sorts of complaints about transparency in AI, about the making up of things. And even if the original source, if you like, labels the information as the product of AI, how do we guarantee that a subsequent source keeps that label? We have enough problems with things like copyright notices not migrating from document to document. How will this digital watermark that's been tried before back in the days of Napster and things like that, where I know you were intimately involved, or all of those cases that I think you did back in the day on photographs and images and stuff like that. Is the watermarking technology good enough to make sure that that's enduring so that people always know that the content has been AI generated, so that when it's produced, let's say in a courtroom in New York, that somebody knows that AI was the origin rather than Google, rather than original research, rather than respectable, established sources of legal information? How is all that stuff going to work?
These are great points, and I'll respond to 3. Doing the math. I can't believe I said 7 when I meant 4, but there you go.
But now your 4 plus 3 equals 7.
I knew that all along. Thank God we work together. But when it comes to lawyers, for example, I know there are law firms that basically command their lawyers at this point to not rely upon AI in terms of legal research, legal writings and submissions, because it's not reliable, oftentimes incorrect, sometimes unsupportable. And there's been some situations where there's been some problem around that. So not yet, for sure. I will offer to you this. I'll be teaching 3 university courses coming up. And what I've decided to do, because I don't want AI submissions from my students, I want their own original thought and content and creation. I'm having them submit, research papers, a real paper, and for each real paper, I want them to also submit an AI generated paper, and they better look very different. And it's going to be very interesting to sort of do the comparison. And they can't rely upon the AI one for the real paper. And then on the watermark point, you're absolutely right. It is gaining some attention. But as we say, the devil's in the details. It's a nice idea, but as a matter of technology, how effective will it be in terms of sort of successive generations of material? Will watermark continue, or will it somehow disappear in later iterations of the same AI content? So, I'm curious your thoughts about that, though. Do you think the watermark idea will actually be effective enough to be useful?
Well, I'm not sure. I think as you say, it'll be a wait and see, and my sense is, no doubt there'll be 1,000 people knocking on the White House's door and telling them that they have a blockchain technology that will be able to do just that thing. But it will be fascinating to see what sort of technology solution we end up with, and as you say, whether it's enduring and whether it's uncrackable. And I suspect in this world, if there's profit behind it, then nothing's uncrackable.
There'll be profit behind it or against it, as we see. I mean, it's always the battle of the white hats versus the black hats, as we say, and when it comes to cybercrime, for example. So, okay, well, do you have any further thoughts on this, Jonathan, or do you think we're complete?
I think we're done for now. I think if people want to engage with us, they could do that on the LinkedIn group, for example, where we'll post this film, and you can just find it TechLaw 10, I think, on LinkedIn, or engage with us via email, or send your chatbot round to talk to our chatbot.
Okay, well, I'm Eric Sinrod in the San Francisco office of Dwayne Morris. My email is ejsinrod@dwaynemorris.com. I'm the real thing. I'm not AI, at least as far as I know. Jonathan?
Jonathan.armstrong@cauterycompliance.com. All that remains is to thank you all for watching / listening. If you have ideas for other topics, just shoot us a line. And if not, we'll talk to you again in a month or so.
All right, take care. Cheers.